Hello, and welcome to Module 2 of the Linux Workshop. In this workshop, we're going to learn basic Linux terminal commands. So the first thing that we want to do, and how we ended the last module, is by opening up a terminal. So if you didn't watch the last module, this is how you do it. There's two ways. The first way is to hit this icon at the very top, and you want to search for a terminal. And you can click on the icon, and it comes up. Another way that you can do it a little bit quicker is by holding down Control and Alt keys on your keyboard and hitting T. So that also brings up a terminal. Now, if you think you're going to use your terminal often, what you may want to do is you may want to pin it to your menu bar. So how you do that is you right-click. And right now I have it locked to my launcher, so I'll unlock it. And I say lock to launcher. And now, even when I close out of my terminal, this icon remains. And I can click on it, and a terminal will pop up. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk through some basic Linux commands. And if you don't know what I mean by commands, basically, it's just an instruction that you're telling your computer to do through the terminal. So the commands that we're going to go over today are pwd, ls, cd, make directory, move, tar, and gzip. So the first command that we want to do is that we want to see where we're at. We open up a terminal, we want to see what folder that we are currently in. So we say pwd, and we find our current working directory. So right now we are in /home/Casey. This will say your username instead of Casey, of course. And that is equivalent to here on the file manager being in the home directory. So I'm going to leave this file manager up beside the terminal so that we can see in real time what's happening to our system as we use these commands in the terminal. So if you recall from the last module, what we had done was we had downloaded a FASTQ file, and we had moved it into a directory of its own, and we had extracted it from its compression, and then we had learned how to recompress. To edit it and recompress it. So we're going to do the same thing today, but we're going to do it with the terminal. So first, if you recall, here's our downloads folder, and we had created a folder named FASTQ in which we had moved our file, and we had edited it, and we had recompressed it. So first we want to get in our terminal, we want to get into our downloads folder. So we want to change our directory. Since we're in home right now, we want to go to downloads, into our downloads. Okay, so cd is the command to change directories, and I give it a name, downloads. And so now I'm in my downloads, and I can perform the command ls, and ls will list all of the files that are in my downloads folder. So, for instance, all I have is this FASTQ, so it lists just the FASTQ folder. So last time we made this folder by right-clicking and saying New Folder. But you can do that quite easily in the terminal. The command is mkdir, make directory, and then you want to give it a name. So since we already have a folder named FASTQ, I don't want to overwrite it, so I'm going to give it a different name. So I'm going to say FASTQ2. And I'm going to hit enter. And so you can see in the file manager that this new folder was created. And sure enough, if you say ls, now both of those folders are listed. So what we're going to do next is we're going to look at two different ways to compress and uncompress files. The first of which is tar, and the second will be gzip. So what I'm going to do is, so I have this edited FASTQ, and I have, last module we recompressed it to be a GZ file. Now I've also compressed it to be a tar.gz, and the tar.gz is a little bit more popular. You'll see it a little bit more often, so we're going to deal with that first, and then we'll look at just the GZ file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of these. You can select two files by clicking on one and then the Shift key and selecting another. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say copy in my downloads, and I'm going to say paste. Another way that you could do this is you can do it through the terminal. So what I can do is I can say, so let me just delete these for now, move them to trash. And I can change directory into my FASTQ. So ls, all of my files are here. And I want to copy these two files, edited.fq.gz and edited.fq.tar.gz, into my downloads folder. So how I do that is I say cp, which is another command, copy, and I give it the name of the file that I want to copy. So I say edited.fq.gz. Let's do that one first. And I want to copy it to my downloads folder, so I need to give it a path. Now, in Linux, there's two types of paths. There's an absolute path, and there's a relative path. So a relative path would look like this. Right now, I am in my downloads/fastq, and I can say ... which means one directory up. So one directory up in here would be my downloads. So I'm in FASTQ and I want to go one directory up, which would be downloads. So I can say ... and I can say enter. And now you can see that my edited.fastq moved here. Now, the second type of path is an absolute path. And this works like so. So I say copy, and I want to now copy my, let's do the tar.gz. And if you see how the words just magically appeared, that's one kind of cool thing about the terminal, the Linux terminal at least, is that as you start typing, if you can try to auto-complete the text by hitting tab. And so as I hit tab, you see it doesn't come up with my exact file because I have several files that start with that prefix. So I need to keep typing, so I can say tar, and that was the only one that had that prefix. And so it writes it for you. It's a useful feature. You don't have to. You can type it all out if you want. So an absolute path would be saying from your very top directory. So remember when we logged in, our directory was /home/Casey. So I'd say /home/Casey/downloads, and I hit enter. And you can see that that did the trick too. Now my tar.gz file is indeed copied into that downloads folder. So that's two types of copying. We'll learn that one a little bit more in depth in the next module. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to move these two files now into our new FASTQ2 folder. The command for move is just mv. And so I want to say move, and then I say edited.gz. And then I want to give it the file name, and then I want to give it the folder to which I want to move it into. And so I want to move it into my FASTQ2. And I say enter. Oh. Well, okay, so I got a little confused there. What happened was I was in my FASTQ folder, and so I moved. So if I do an ls, I'll show you what happened. I moved this file into FASTQ FASTQ2, but I was not in my downloads folder, which is where my FASTQ2 is. So what Linux has done is it has moved this file, this edited.fq.gz, into another file named FASTQ2. It's the same file, doesn't have the same extensions, but it is indeed the same file. So don't freak out if you do that. It's an easy mistake to make. So what I'm going to do to reverse it is just say move FASTQ2 back into edited.fq.gz. So if I ls, okay, everything is back to normal, we're good. So what I need to do is I need to change my directory into downloads. And so this is that relative path again, where I say .. and this will take me one folder up, which is my downloads folder. So now if I say ls, now I'm in the right folder, it's all good, and I can say now move my edited.fq.gz into my FASTQ2 folder. And you can see that it disappeared from here. And now if I go into here, you'll see that it is now indeed in the correct folder. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing to my edited.fq.tar.gz. Move it into my FASTQ2 folder. Okay, so they're all in the right place. Now we can change our directory so we can cd into that FASTQ2. Oop, made a typo. That's another good thing about Linux is when you make a typo, it usually gives you an error that you can kind of decipher. So it said no such file or directory. Okay, so now I'm in the right folder. I say ls, I ensure my files are there. And now I want to extract these files from their compressed versions. And so what I need to do is I'm going to start with the tar. So we're going to start by extracting this guy. So for tar, the command is tar. And to extract the file, you're going to need to give it a few flags so it knows what to do with the file. And flags are denoted by a dash. So I say tar dash, and I want to say X. So I want the tar command to extract something. That is zipped. So Z for zipped. And I want to know what is going on. So I want to say V for verbose. So it's going to be printing out as it's extracting. And I want to say F because I want to be able to specify the file that I want to extract. Okay, so those are the 4 flags that I need to extract the file. And I give it the file name, edited.fq.tar, and I hit enter. Okay, so this is it telling me that this is the one file that was within that folder, and it's done. So if I say ls, I now see that you can see it here in the file manager. I now see that file is out of its compression. So say you want to extract something, but you don't want it to be necessary. You want to have control over what it's named when you extract it. So that's possible too. So what you do is you can say tar. Another useful hint for Linux is that it has memory. So what you can do is you can use your up arrow, and you can see all of the past commands that you've done. So I'm just going to add another flag to this tar command that we already ran. So I'm going to go up into that one and use that one as my base. So to specify a name for your file as it comes out, after you give it the name of the file, you want to say -C, and you want to give it a name. So I'm going to say test.fq. And hit enter. Okay, so we had an error there. So it may just be -C. Okay, well, I'll have to look this up and I'll have to tell you guys later on how to do this. It should be something straightforward. So another thing that is useful, another useful command is the clear command. So you see how I have all of this text here and that can get really overwhelming. So I can clear it and say clear, and now I have a clear terminal to work with. And I still have all of my history. You can still scroll up. I just have a clear terminal. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is after we've extracted something, we want to learn how to compress it, recompress it with the terminal. So we use the tar command again, but we want to give it some different flags. There's one flag that changes from before, and instead of X, you want to give it C for compress. So tar C, Z for zipped, V for verbose, F for file, and now you want to name your archive. So I'm going to name it, testing.tar.gz. So that's going to be the name of the compressed file after I'm done. And now I want to specify what I actually want to compress. And I just want to compress this edited.fq. So when I hit enter, you can see here that now I have a testing.tar.gz. And if I were to extract that, I would find again my edited.fq. Okay. So from before, we had this edited.fq.gz, no tar, just gz. And the way that you extract that file is by using the gzip command. So I'm going to pause here and take a second to show you. So some of these commands you may not know how to use them, or you may not remember the flags you need to use. So there's two ways to figure out, those flags and how to use certain commands. Within your terminal, if you don't have a web browser, you can say man and give it the name of the command. So we know ls, so let's say man ls. So this is going to bring up a manual page for the ls command. And it's going to tell you what it does, and it's going to give you a short description, and then it's going to give you all of the possible flags that it uses and what those flags do. And to get out of the man page, you just hit Q. Now, if you have a web browser and you would prefer to do it that way, you can always just Google it. And you'll come to the first item is the man page. So if you'd rather look at it this way instead of on the terminal, that's fine, and you can. So the command that we're going to use now is gzip. So let's do a man on our gzip. Okay, so it tells us that it reduces the size of the name files. That's great. That's what we wanted it to do. So let's see if we can find how to uncompress, how to extract files. So we come down to options. Oh, here we go. So -D, decompress. Okay, so that's going to be our command that we use. So we say Q to quit. We say gzip -D, and we give it our edited.fq.gz, and we hit enter. Okay, so gzip is saying that it's trying to extract the file, but this edited.fq file already exists. So let's say no for now. Okay, because we may not want to overwrite things. So for now, what you can do is you can, just as before, when we use the move command and we moved a file into another to another file, so we can say move edited fq to edited fq dot back or edited to dot fq. Okay, so I can do that. So I have essentially renamed the file. So that's just a way to rename it. And how you would do that in the file manager is by right-clicking, say rename. And here you move. You move one file to another file name. It preserves everything in the file. It just changes the name. So now we can do our gzip command. And we see that .gz file disappears, and we have our fq, our edited.fq again here. So that's a brief introduction on Linux terminal, some basics. There will be an assignment for you all to do on your own using these commands. In the next module, we'll learn a little bit more about the terminal. We'll learn how to work with files just from the terminal. So see you next time.